Konnichiwa everyone, and welcome to my Ultimate Convention 101 video. Anime, gaming and comic related cons come in all shapes and sizes, whether it's a massive commercial MCM Comic Con or a smaller indie convention, and they actually have a lot of things in common, so regardless of how big or small they are, you're in for a good experience. I figured since I'm something of a veteran at cons these days, I would make this video for any of you guys who've never been to a con before, because it can be hard to know what to expect, and there are some things that you really wish you'd known before you'd gone. So here are all my tips and all the information you need to get you guys con ready. Number 1, what attractions can I expect? While every con has its own way of doing things, they all follow a similar pattern when it comes to what you can see and do there. Firstly, you can guarantee that there will be a lot of merchandise for sale. DVDs, clothes, figurines, toys, collectibles, manga, graphic novels, plushies, super pervy anime body pillows, pretty much anything you can think of, they'll probably have it. You could spend a dangerous amount of money at a con, but you do have to be discerning, because while there are some things that you probably won't see anywhere else, there are also a lot of things that are more expensive there just because it's a con, and you could probably find the same thing on the internet for cheaper. I'd recommend walking around the entire con first and seeing everything before you make up your mind what you're gonna buy. That way you don't frivolously buy something and then regret it later. And if you do buy anything, it is definitely worth getting cash out before you go into the con, because while some stalls do have card machines, the majority of them do not. You can also expect to see quite a lot of games that you can play at these conventions. Some feature more than others. At a typical con, you'll probably find a few modern consoles with brand new games for you to try out, but I've been to cons where they've had new consoles, old consoles, DDR machines, tabletop games like RPG board games and card games, all kinds of awesome things. You never know. Another big part of the convention experience is celebrity guests. Every con features celebrity guests that give talks and do meet and greets and things like that, so you could get the chance to meet someone you really like. They tend to be actors from movies, TV shows, anime, voice actors, people like that, depending on what type of con it is. And they're not always massive stars, but every now and then someone big pops up, so you never know. Important note here, sometimes the meet and greets and things like that are only available to people who pre-booked in advance. Not all of them are. I would suggest checking out the con's website before you go, just in case you need to pre-book so you don't miss the chance to meet someone you like. There are also various panels, displays and workshops at conventions, like lectures on things such as how to draw manga, Japanese culture, martial arts displays, all kinds of subjects. These are spread out throughout the day and usually take place on some kind of stage in the venue. Every con's website will have a timetable where you can see the times and locations of everything that they have on for every day of the con, so check that out in advance and then you can schedule your trip around what you want to see. Each con has its own little quirky attractions too, so don't be surprised if you see something different, like karaoke, anime screenings and competitions, for example. And some of them also feature live music, which is always appropriately nerdy and covers anime and gaming and such. Speaking of which, shameless self-promotion time! The reason I go to cons so much is because I'm in a band that performs at cons. Our name is GS 1.0 and we not only cover songs from anime and games, we write our own about them too. If you want to check us out, why not click here and go on a phantasmagorical adventure? Go on, click it. I'll just wait here. Go on. Okay, cool, moving on. There's one last attraction that you should definitely know about. I've saved one of the biggest ones to last. When you go to any convention of this type, you are going to see a lot of cosplay. For clarification, cosplay is the term for people dressing up as a character from a movie, anime, game, or any other franchise, often with costumes that they've made themselves from scratch. Cosplay is a massive part of these conventions, and you know what, actually, I think it needs its own category here. Number 2, cosplay. Every convention features a cosplay masquerade where cosplayers can show off their costumes on stage and people can vote for whose is the best. As a spectator, it's really interesting to see how much work some of these people put into their cosplays and how accurate they can be. And if you yourself want to cosplay, you can enroll in the masquerade yourself. However, masquerade aside, the con will still be full of cosplayers who are walking around cosplaying just for fun. In fact, I'd say about 70% of all people who go to cons cosplay. It'll be everywhere, and if you want to cosplay, do not worry about feeling self-conscious and being the only one wearing a costume, because trust me, you will not be the only one. However, if cosplay is not for you, there's still no pressure to cosplay at all, so don't worry about it. Regardless of what you do, you might want to keep your phone or your camera handy, because there will be plenty of epic cosplayers to take pictures of. The cosplay community is really strong at conventions, especially if you see someone cosplaying a character that you love, or if you're cosplaying and you see someone cosplaying another character from the same franchise as you or something like that. There is a lot of friendship and good vibes around cosplay, so whether you're part of it or you're just spectating, you're gonna have a good time. One last thing about cosplay, every convention has a set of rules about cosplay, mainly for safety reasons so nobody gets injured, especially if your cosplay contains any kind of weapon. If your cosplay doesn't meet those rules, you might not get let into the con, or you might even get your weapon confiscated, which is bad. So to make super sure that doesn't happen, check out those rules on the website beforehand and you should be all good. Number 3, what is there to eat and drink? All conventions serve food and drink. Sometimes it's the cafe or the catering area of the venue itself, or it can be in the form of pop-up burger vans and stalls in the merchandise area. I've seen some pretty epic Japanese food stalls in anime cons where you can get sushi and candy and yakisoba and all kinds of yummy stuff. However, the food that is inside the con is usually very expensive. This is where your wristband comes in. Once you enter a con, you always get some kind of wristband that means you can enter and leave as many times as you want. Pretty much all conventions are held in the middle of cities, surrounded by places to eat, so unless you really want the convention food, I would seriously recommend leaving the con whenever you're hungry and going somewhere to get reasonably priced food so you don't have to pay over the odds. That way you won't experience what I did when a con I went to was selling 2 bottles of water for £5. Yeah, water. You know, that stuff that, like, comes out of taps, like, for free. Yeah, £5. Screw that! Number 4, what should I bring? There are a few things that caught me off guard the first couple of times I went to a convention, so here are some handy tips so that you guys can avoid those little inconveniences. Firstly, you are going to be walking around all day, so wear comfy shoes or maybe just bring an extra pair that you can change into later in the day if you really want to wear heels. Also, every single convention, no matter where they're held, is hot. There are thousands of people at these things and there might be aircon, but you're going to be walking around in crowds of people and all that body heat is a killer, so maybe don't wear anything too hot and leave the extra jacket behind. If you're a cosplayer, you might also want to take a spare set of casual clothes with you just in case you get too hot or uncomfortable, or your cosplay is bothering you for whatever reason and you just want to get into some comfy clothes. Also, if you're cosplaying, you might also want to take a few little things that will help you keep your cosplay looking good throughout the day, so hair clips, hairspray, the case for your contact lenses in case you need to take them out, safety pins in case something comes undone and won't do back up, you get the idea. And the last main thing I can think of is something not to bring, actually. Cons tend to do bag searches on entry, and the main thing they won't let you bring in is food and drink, so remember when I said about going outside the con to get your food? Eat it outside too, because they won't let you bring in things like bottles of water and snacks and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty much all I can think of. The only other thing you really need to bring is your inner nerd. Wow, that was cheesy. And that about wraps it up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and had your questions about conventions answered. But if not, then please fire away in the comments because I always reply. Also, if you want to check out some vlogs that I've done at conventions showing you guys the full experience, you can click here. Goodbye! One last thing about cosplay, every convention has a